Some of the most popular and critically acclaimed JRPGs of all time are sequels. Maybe not a direct sequel, but not the first entry in the series either. I mean, you got Final Fantasy VI, Suikoden 2, Persona 4, Dragon Quest XI, just to name a few. Yeah, some titles like Chrono Trigger hit it out of the park right from the start, but not every game has a team of industry legends working on it either. Usually it took some time for developers to hone their craft and to see what worked and didn't work. So many JRPGs had a somewhat rough start, but a solid foundation nonetheless. Like, think if Atlus never got the chance to build upon the original Persona. We would have missed out on so many other amazing RPGs. I will say though, fortunately, most good JRPGs have gotten sequels. But, as is the topic of this video, that is not the case for all of them. So yeah, in this video I'm gonna highlight 8 awesome titles that never got a second chance. I do want to make it clear though, while some of these games may have unreached potential, others are truly excellent standalone titles that makes it even that much more tragic that we never got a sequel. With that said, let's just dive into it. Here's an unranked list of 8 great JRPGs that never got a sequel, but deserve one.
The light is your guide.
A dream is what keeps you going.
Now is the time to shape your story. Your fate is in your hands.
And to start off this list, we have The Legend of Dragoon. The Legend of Dragoon was released for the PlayStation and was developed by Japan Studio, a first-party studio of Sony. It can also be bought on the PS4 and PS5 stores. This has gotta be one of the first titles that comes to mind for a lot of people when thinking of this topic. I know there's many people out there that have such a strong connection and love for this game. I'm the same, kind of. I mean, look at Kid Me here, this little rapscallion is pumped as shit, dude. Thousand Arms is another good one that never got a sequel. Anyway, little did I know the amazing world that I was about to immerse myself into. Well, actually I did know, as I had this one GamePro magazine that gave it all 5, so I was pretty hyped. At the time, I was super into it and absolutely loved it. As I've gotten older though, I've kind of grown a little more lukewarm with it. First of all, the dialogue is really stiff. Easily some of the least natural sounding dialogue out of any PS1 RPG. I do blame the translation though. Wild Arms 2 is another PS1 RPG that gets notoriously shit on for its translation, and yeah, it doesn't make the most sense at times, but at least when it does, it sounds kind of natural. That's at least more fun to read to me instead of this robotic dialogue where I'm just bored the whole time. Secondly, battles are slow, like really slow. It has that Final Fantasy IX syndrome where it takes forever to pan around the battlefield. However, it's even more egregious as, due to the addition system, attacks themselves kind of take a bit. I feel like you're not really properly rewarded for getting in at battles either, which just makes the length of them even more annoying and really start to drag by the end. These are really its only 2 main flaws though. I'm not gonna lie, they do impact my ability to enjoy the game as much as I did as a kid, but with that said, a sequel could easily fix these issues. I mean, just look at Final Fantasy IX and Final Fantasy X. Battles went from the slowest in the series to the fastest. They could have done the same for a Dragoon sequel on the PS2. You can keep the addition system in, I do like it, just make it snappier. I really do think a Legend of Dragoon sequel with a better translation and quicker battle system could have been a masterpiece. There's just so much potential here. The concept of Dragoons is cool as shit, the world design is really creative, the lore in general is extremely interesting, and the music is insanely good. Seriously, this is a top tier OST. The various world map themes, the town themes, the emotional tracks, they're all just so good. Oh yeah, you remember how a while ago the internet went crazy as they collectively realized how incredibly hard the GoldenEye pause screen slapped? Well, the Legend of Dragoon menu screen is like the JRPG equivalent of that. Just listen to this. This is like some dope-ass lo-fi hip-hop trip-hop shit you'd find in some YouTube playlist now. It's such a vibe, dude. You gotta love it. Alright, I think I've spent long enough dragging on about Dragoon. Oh man, if you're still here after that joke, let's move on to the next game. Coming up next, we have Rogue Galaxy. Rogue Galaxy was developed by Level 5 and was released for the PS2. Like The Legend of Dragoon though, it can also be bought on the PS4 and PS5 stores. This is another one I feel has a lot of unreached potential, so it just sucks we never got a sequel to realize it. Let's start with the positive this time. First of all, it's just got a great atmosphere. The presentation in general is just gorgeous for a PS2 game. It has that space pirate theme in the vein of shows like Captain Harlock, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, and yeah, the setting will just never not be cool. I think the character design is really creative as well. I always love it when we get non-human party members, and for a game with a sci-fi setting, it makes perfect sense. Fuck. Dude, I wave my arms around like an idiot when I'm recording as it helps me enunciate and show inflection, and I just nailed my mic shield. Anyway. All this being said, I think Rogue Galaxy's biggest flaw was that it was just too ambitious and tried to do too much. There's an amazing game in here somewhere, but it's just bogged down by some questionable design choices, and the developers just spreading themselves too thin, creating a lack of focus in some areas. This is from that Level 5 era where they try to pack as much side content into a game as possible. You know, like Dark Cloud 2. A noble goal, sure, but if the main game suffers for it, was it really worth it? In this case, no, I don't think it was. Yeah, the factory and the Insectron shit is cool, I guess, but I would have rather them taken that time and focus on the story more instead. To me, the plot is just messy and all over the place, and it just doesn't know the story it wants to tell. I think they realized there wasn't a whole lot of substance here, so they padded the game out with a lot of random encounters. Like, dude, even some towns have random encounters. Why? I just want to go to this shop, man. I'm not trying to fight shit right now. It's really only a few, not all of them, but it still annoyed me. Dungeons are also massive with a high encounter rate, which would be okay if battles were actually fun, but they get repetitive really quickly. You just spam your strongest AoE attack at the beginning of every fight and win in like 10 seconds. Recovery items are very easy to come by, so this is viable. Also, a space pirate RPG where you can't control your ship? Yeah, kind of a missed opportunity. Anyway, all this complaining is to say, a sequel could have fixed a lot of these issues. You know, trim some of the fat a bit, focus on the main dish, and spice that shit up. This setting is way too cool to be hindered by unbalanced gameplay and an unfocused story. This had potential to be one of the all-time greats, and a sequel could have realized that, but alas, we're just left with a pretty good, albeit pretty flawed game. If you're interested in hearing some more of my detailed thoughts about the game, we did release a retrospective over it a couple years ago, so check that one out.
There's something about this planet I just don't like.
The next game we have on our list is Lost Odyssey. Lost Odyssey was developed by Mistwalker and was released for the Xbox 360. Yeah, one of the handful of 360 JRPGs. To many people, including myself, Lost Odyssey was kind of like the traditional turn-based Final Fantasy we never got that generation. I'm not gonna shit on Final Fantasy 13, it's not my favorite, but I think it's a fine game. In some alternate universe though, Lost Odyssey was Final Fantasy 13. You see, Mistwalker was founded by Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of the Final Fantasy series. Not only did he write Lost Odyssey, but Final Fantasy series composer Nobuo Uematsu also composed the music for it as well. So yeah, when people say this feels like a Final Fantasy game, they're not kidding. All in all, this is just a really outstanding title. Mature emotional story, great characters, fun battle system, beautiful locations, this game just got it all. Like seriously, Lost Odyssey legit has some of the best writing I've ever seen in a JRPG, especially these 1,000 years of dream sequences. In this game, you play as Kaim, an immortal who's been alive for 1,000 years, and these segments chronicle his travels and those he's met along the way. This of course includes many people that have come and gone before his very eyes, so a lot of these are quite somber. These short stories were actually written by Japanese best-selling author Kiyoshi Shigematsu, so it's no surprise why they're so good. The use of music and sound effects makes these scenes really immersive as well. I think my biggest critique with the game is that it kind of loses a little bit of steam the farther you get, and the locations get a little bit less interesting, but it's all about the journey and not the destination. Lost Odyssey is an amazing journey. It's a damn excellent game, so it's a real shame that it never got a sequel to expand upon it. I don't know if that day will ever come, but a man can dream, right? Well, just hopefully not for 1,000 years, like your boy Kaim. And coming up next, we have Crystalis, also known by the Japanese name Godslayer. Crystalis was developed by SNK and was released for the original Nintendo. It can be played on the SNK 40th Anniversary Collection though, via the Switch, the PS4, the Xbox One, and PC. Not only is this considered one of the best RPGs on the original Nintendo, but it's just considered one of the best NES games, period. It came out near the end of the console's lifespan, so it almost looks and plays more like an SNES game. Like seriously, this controls remarkably well for the time. It kinda plays like an old school Zelda game, just more of a focus on RPG elements. Hitboxes are a little janky, but what can you expect with the era? That same mindset can extend to the story as well. I mean, it's an NES game. You play as a warrior magician who was just awakened into a post-apocalyptic world that has since regressed in a more of a medieval fantasy setting as you try to take on the evil Dragon. Yeah, it's pretty standard, but serviceable for what it is. What's more than serviceable though, is the music. Just 8-bit bangers galore here, dude. So good. Anyway, all this is to say is that Crystalis is an excellent 8-bit title. So, why did we never get a sequel? The Super Nintendo installment could have maybe been as fondly remembered as other action RPGs like Secret of Mana or Terranigma. Hell, the potential just increases with each passing generation. Unfortunately though, Crystalis has kind of been lost with the sands of time and will likely never see a comeback. SNK technically is still around, but do they even make games anymore? I don't know, I don't think they do. I guess they did give the rights to another developer to make a Metal Slug's Tactics game, so who knows, anything is possible. Something similar could happen with Crystalis, and one can only hope. And to start off the second half of this list, we have the one and only Xenogears. And yes, the one and only. Xenosaga and Xenoblade are pretty cool, but Xenogears, they are not. I know Takahashi was involved with all three, however, they just feel very different. Like I know people that have Xenogears as their favorite game ever, but don't even like Xenosaga or Xenoblade. I think that goes to show that the itch for a true Xenogears sequel was never really scratched. Xenosaga could be considered a spiritual successor, but Xenoblade doesn't even feel like that. What makes this sting even more is there initially were sequels planned. Xenogears was supposed to be part 5 out of a 6-part series. The Perfect Works book kind of shows a general outline of how it was supposed to go. Normal people might lie in bed at night thinking about stuff like, should I have accepted that job offer 5 years ago? Did I let the one get away? How many hours have I wasted listening to some idiot ramble on YouTube about old video games? But me though, nah, what keeps me up is pondering what could have been with Xenogears. It's one of my all-time favorites, and I've talked about it a lot on the channel before, so I won't harp on it too long here. For those that don't know though, it's often considered to have one of, if not the best story out of any JRPG ever. It covers many mature and complex themes that most JRPGs wouldn't even dare touch. Not to mention just how grand in scope the plot is. It's truly insane how epic it all is. The game is not perfect. Disc 2 was infamously rushed due to lack of time and budget. However, the fact that it's as highly regarded as it is, despite this, I think is a pretty good indicator of how incredible the game truly is. For it to have resonated as strongly as it did with so many people has gotta mean it's something special. To me, this Squaresoft PS1 classic is a timeless, flawed masterpiece that any fan of JRPGs owes it to themselves to try out at some point. Coming up next, we have Secret of Evermore. Secret of Evermore was released for the Super Nintendo and was developed by Square. Not the Japanese Square though, the North American Square. Yeah, this was a special, newly hired team that Square put together for this game and this game only. Contrary to popular belief at the time, it actually has nothing to do with the Mana series. It has a lot of gameplay similarities to Secret of Mana, but besides that, they're not related in any way. If you like one of them though, you'll probably like the other. In fact, it was kind of made just to make a Mana-like game appeal to a Western audience. Again, hitboxes are a little janky and it doesn't feel the most polished at times, but gameplay is not the main selling point here. The setting and atmosphere is. I mean, you travel to different time periods with a shape-shifting dog, the concept is a slam dunk. The whole mood and vibe of the game is just elevated due to Jeremy Sewell's excellent music. Who's that, you ask? Oh, just the dude behind the music in a little-known series by the name of Elder Scrolls. This is the first game he ever composed for, so if you want to see the birth of a legend, you gotta check this one out. You know, as much as I respect what Secret of Evermore does, it's just not a game I personally love that much. I really love the idea of it though, which is why a sequel would have been awesome. It's kind of like Rogue Galaxy to me. Very cool premise, just unreached potential. Unfortunately, due to the circumstances surrounding development, I think it was kind of doomed from the start from ever getting a sequel. It's fun to speculate though. A Kingdom Hearts style action RPG where you visit different time periods instead of Disney places could have been really cool. Oh well, it is what it is. Secret of Evermore is a fine game, I just think there was a little more it could have given us. The next game we have on our list is Skies of Arcadia. Okay, so I know I included this one in our last list video, so I will keep this entry pretty short. There's just no way I can make a video about JRPGs that deserved a sequel and not include Skies of Arcadia though. I know I would have gotten like 50 comments about it, so yeah. If you're a regular watcher of the channel and are annoyed we're talking about this one 2 list videos in a row, then, well, sorry. Blame our Patreons, they voted for this topic. JK, don't blame them, they're awesome. Anyway, Skies of Arcadia. A developmental division of Sega called Overworks developed this one for the Dreamcast initially and then later ported it to the GameCube. That one has extra content and is a go-to version. The reason why Skies of Arcadia is here is quite simple. It's just a really great RPG, so it sucks we never got another one. The charming cast of characters, the sense of adventure, the unique locations, it's all just so good. Skies of Arcadia is one of those games that's in so many people's top RPGs ever list, and I'm actually one of those people. Yeah! I don't think I'd have it in my top 5 or maybe even top 10, but it's definitely hanging out somewhere in the top 20. I know that doesn't sound that good on first listen, but when you've played over hundreds of RPGs, trust me, top 20 is pretty damn good. I wouldn't say the Skies of Arcadia has any one single standout aspect, however, it's a perfect example of a game being greater than the sum of its parts. From beginning to end, it's one of the most enjoyable experiences you'll find in the genre, and it's a damn shame that we never got to see another one. And to finish off this list, we have Thousand Arms. Yeah, the foreshadow was absolutely not subtle at all. Thousand Arms was released for the PS1 and was developed by Red Entertainment.
Red Company!
The same team behind the Tengai Makyo series and the Sakura War series. This game is really unique for multiple reasons. I don't know if it's the very first, but it's at least one of the first games to be released in North America with dating sim elements. This was years before a series like Persona would do something similar. Secondly, in an era when most JRPGs were really serious and dramatic, Thousand Arms didn't take itself seriously at all. Like, yeah, it's still a save the world plot and some moments are played straight, however, the tone is undoubtedly primarily humorous and lighthearted. Very Slayers vibes with a comedic fantasy setting. By the way, the art of all the characters is so good, dude. I love this shit. That being said, Thousand Arms does have some major flaws. The presentation is not that great. The battle sprites look awesome, but the walking around sprites, eh. Okay, the anime cutscenes do look awesome as well, and there are a lot of them. They're complete with voice acting too, and really immerse you into the game's world.
I've never seen such a beautiful place before. This is my first time outside of Boisby.
The game's biggest problem, though, is definitely the battle system. You can't have multiple party members in battle and fight against multiple enemies, however, you can only fight one at a time. After you defeat the frontline enemy, another enemy hops into his place while your party members cheer you on from behind. Some of the cheers do have effects and you can swap out your frontline character whenever, but even still, this is kind of lame, dude. We get this colorful cast of unique characters and then can only fight with one at a time? Like, what? The characters are one of this game's biggest strengths, and you're telling me I have to sideline most of them? Dude, that sucks. The traditional 3-person battle system could have made this game so much better. This is the main reason why I want a Thousand Arms sequel. I love this world and atmosphere so much, just execute the gameplay better. The concept of a spirit blacksmith and channeling spirits into weapons is just so cool, man. I need more of it. Thousand Arms may not be incredible, but it is incredibly charming. It's a game that I recognize has many flaws and is very rough around the edges. However, it also gives me some of the coziest, most nostalgic vibes I've ever experienced in the genre. It really feels like you're playing a cheesy 90s anime in game form. When I see the title screen and hear that enchanting music, dude, I'm instantly taken back to my childhood. Quite possibly my favorite title screen out of any RPG ever. Thousand Arms may not be for everyone, but it is a game I hold very dear to my heart. Even though we never got a sequel, I'm at least happy we got this one. And that about wraps up this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please either consider hitting that like button or subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. What are some RPGs you guys think deserve sequels? I think I talked about some pretty good examples, but there are obviously some that I missed. I can already see Radiant Historia fans typing up a comment. Let us know what else we missed in the comments below. Oh yeah, for those that missed it and may be interested, a few weeks ago we dropped a video about random encounters in RPGs. It's a short little piece about how we can make them fun and viable, but yeah, it didn't really do too hot on the algorithm, so if it sounds up your alley, check it out. As always, just want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters, and of course an extra special shout out to our top patrons Chris Carnaccio, Derek Drost, Jesse Spencer, Jump Rock, and Saishū. All of your support and generosity is very much appreciated. Other than that, thanks again for watching everyone, and hope you have an awesome day. This is Corbin from Gaming Productions. Until next time.